There appears to be no particular end to the potential tyranny of a Labour government, and Pete Hitchens did warn us, but man, nobody, I think, saw this coming, right? But the thing is, this isn't entirely of their own making either. As you can see here, pub and travel bans proposed under sentencing rule changes. So what this means is that Shabana Mahmood, I believe her name is, not that I don't know what her name is, the point is, can I pronounce it correctly? For some reason, they're not even listing her name. But she is the Justice Secretary. And she is proposing that if you commit a crime, rather than you just serving the sentence as normal, there could be extra punishments added to this in order to, I assume, disincentivize you from committing further crimes. And the thing is, this is kind of wild. People convicted of crimes in England and Wales could find themselves barred from going to pubs and sports matches as part of changes to sentencing rules. Courts imposing community sentences would have the power to hand out driving and travel bans under legislation expected to be introduced next month. The sentencing bill is also likely to include plans to restrict the use of short prison sentences to ease overcrowding, as well as introduce a scheme to release some well-behaved inmates early. Remember, on day one, Keir Starmer let out a bunch of criminals, including a murderer, who went on to murder again. But this, you can see, is such a... I mean, this is really short-sighted, let's be clear, in the best case scenario, right? As in, this just looks overtly tyrannical. If you, I don't know, didn't pay a fine or something, or stole something from a shop, you're then banned from going to watch the football match at the end of the week, or whenever after you've served your sentence, like that is crazy and so intrusive. This is the sort of thing I would expect the communist Chinese government to do. I was going to say not the British Labour government, but actually this is what I'd expect the British Labour government to do. But this is crazy. But the thing is, of course, it was made off the back of a bunch of recommendations by a Conservative, because the Conservatives and the Labour Party, not really very different. Now, it is true that at the moment, as they say, courts are currently able to impose limited bans on people convicted of certain offences. So if someone is found guilty of violence at a football match, they can be banned from stadiums, which, okay. But for this, they want to impose it for a wider range of offences, meaning offenders could face additional penalties unrelated to their specific offence. So they're just going to start adding things on. Arbitrarily, it must be, since you couldn't... I mean, if someone keeps getting into fights at a football stadium, fine, you're banned from going to that football stadium. That makes sense. That's not arbitrary. There is a logical causal connection to the crime and the punishment. But if you, like, I don't know, you do whatever, you tweet something, Lucy Connolly style, and suddenly you can't go to the pub, suddenly you can't go to football matches, suddenly this takes on a different aspect entirely, doesn't it? In fact, this starts to look like a way of persecuting a particular slice of society, the white English working class in particular, the people who like going to football matches and pubs. Again, if you go to these events, these places, you find, oh, there is this kind of self-selected demographic here. These are the things that the white English enjoy doing. And so then it starts taking on a really sinister aspect. It starts looking like this is a way of specifically oppressing these groups. And I'm sure the Labour Party aren't even thinking about it. But then, can we talk about unconscious bias? Shabana Mahmood doing this? Does she go to the pub often? Does she go to watch football matches? Is she part of the group that are being targeted by these choices? And the answer is no, isn't it? This is something that is being imposed on the native population. Again, it's not like this was in a manifesto, and it's not like even the Labour Party won some sort of overwhelming legitimate victory, really. They got in by the skin of their teeth because Nigel Farage kicked the legs out from under the Conservatives. So they're acting in this draconian way, utterly draconian way, that again, I think there are legitimate questions about implicit bias on, in order to, frankly, oppress the native white British population. And it's so unbelievably cold that the attitude towards it is, no, look, the prisons are overcrowded. And the thing is, they did say, oh yeah, we're going to start deporting foreign prisoners. So good start. That's 12% of the prison population, by the way, just in case you didn't realise. Is made up of people, foreign nationals who committed crimes who just sat in our jails. It's just crazy. Why any of them are here. But the issue is clearly that's not enough. And so, oh God, well, we just need to make it so fewer people go to prison. Well, can we just put social... can we just impose what is essentially a social credit system for the English working class? They've got to know their place. We've got to keep them down. We've got to keep them in line. And if they don't, then we're going to have it electronically tagged so they can't go to the pub, so they can't go to the football matches. And that's not going to be the end of it either. But, these are the two primary things that they think this constituency enjoys. And so, is that smart? Moreover, look at the framing on which she tweets this out. Break the law, we'll take away the things you love. That's really vengeful. Like, if someone breaks the law, then they should be punished. But the justice, you would think, ought to be impartial. Normally, and historically, it was meant to look, at least, the appearance of impartiality. It wasn't meant to look as if it was trying to penalise in an emotional sense. Like I really just feel that saying we'll take away the things you love is just really inappropriate. Like, threatening the population is probably not what the justice system should be for, and not really the way that things used to be done in the past. And also, like I said, it's completely arbitrary. It's like, right, if you commit a hate speech crime, we're going to prevent you from going to the football. We're going to prevent you from going to the pub. It's like, I mean, obviously the draconian surveillance state, electronic surveillance state that we've been crafting is coming to full fruition. And this was the kind of thing that was always implicit in the premise anyway. They were always like, well, if we can track everyone, if we've got facial recognition, we've got cameras everywhere, and every transaction is electronic, so we can be in control of whether that transaction even happens. If you're the wrong kind of person, you don't get to do that transaction. That was all implicit in the digitalization of all of society, right? That was always there as a potential. It's just everyone was like, okay, they're not really going to do that. But now they are going to do that. And they're going to do that in this kind of almost sadistic way. It's like, right, no, you fell afoul of one of our rules. I mean, and this could go for things that are apolitical, sort of, like violence, or it can be for things that are political, like things that you have said against the government or against a minority group or against, an individual, whatever it is. This will be applied any way they like. And now we find ourselves actually trapped within the panopticon of the modern managerial bureaucratic state. And they're acting like this. That's pretty dark, I think. And I really think that if Farage wanted to be on the crest of the wave for once and to actually really shore up his popularity with people, making sure that this, whatever was put into place to allow this to happen, this bill that's going to be presented in the next coming months, saying, look, I'm going to kill this. I'm going to repeal this stone cold dead. The idea that the government can ban you, again, for something, it could be mortgage fraud or something, it could be something completely trivial, but they can just arbitrarily decide, no, right, that's it. We're banning you from society itself as your punishment. Again, the Chinese social credit system being made real for the English working class. Again, by someone who is not of the English working class. I just have to point out. This is just truly evil. And if Farage really wanted to shore up his credibility on this, he would just say, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this. There is no way I'm going to allow the government to just arbitrarily ban you from going to the pub or going to the football. That's just not on the table. That's un-English, frankly. That's dreadful. And moreover, I feel that there hasn't been a great deal of thought that's been put into this by the Labour Party. Like, the reason I think that most countries aren't in revolution, and again, this is not a very controversial thing to say, it's an ancient axiom that everyone has known from time immemorial, that the population are kept happy by their bread and circuses. Well, the bread is getting pretty bloody expensive these days. And if you prevent people from engaging in their circuses, that is, the football and the pub, I think you'd probably see more civil unrest than not. And the thing is, you say, well, it's only one or two people. No, this could run into the tens of thousands. Remember, this could be for anything. And I'm sure the football clubs are going to be like, okay, well, hang on a second. You've prevented 100,000 people from attending the football all across the country. I mean, that's money that we need, isn't it? We need their custom. Again, pubs that have been closing at a remarkable rate. If you prevent like 100,000 people across the country from going to the pubs, that's going to have a significant impact on the pubs themselves. But that's the point about the Labour Party. They don't care. That's not a consideration of theirs. What is a consideration of theirs is social control over the English working class. And again, notice they didn't say they're going to prevent you from going to upscale wine bars or eating at fancy gastropubs. It's not that they're not saying that someone's going to lose their access to avocado toast and imported wine, obviously, even though, of course, the middle class commits different kinds of crime, the sort of white collar crime. This is aimed at a particular demographic, and they know it is. And again, travel bans as well. You can't go to Magaluf, mate. Why? Because the government hates you, and they've decided that what you did was a crime, and they are going to make sure that Tommy Robinson, for example, can't leave the country for whatever reason, can't go on holiday, can't do this, can't do that. So this is deeply, deeply sinister. And like I said, Farage would have a massive win if he just approached this from the opposite direction and said, look, breaking the law is breaking the law, and there is already a punishment that fits the crime. As if the laws in this country are being properly enforced anyway. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of examples of crimes that just go uninvestigated because the state is completely uninterested in them, and yet they are interested in making sure that the white working class in this country are well under control. It just goes to show you who they are particularly interested in and who they actually believe the power to threaten their regime even resides in. This is revelatory, but it's also insane. And I think it'll turn into a massive Achilles heel for the Labour government when they end up doing this. And I think they will end up doing this, frankly. I think they will end up instituting a Chinese social credit system for the English working class. And I think eventually it'll come back to bite them in the rear.